Man, things are really heating up with ambitions, and I can't wait to talk about it, y'all. Let's run it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to KRS TV. This is your boy Kenny, and this is Ambitions Season 1, Episode 2, and the name of this episode is Woman to Woman. This show just premiered last week, and I'm already at the edge of my seat because the shenanigans that are being pulled are out of this world. So let me begin with this episode. The episode picks up where it left off with Rondell. There was a guy that came into Thelma's restaurant, practically threatening her. We're seeing the aftermath. Rhonda's okay. She's talking to the police. You know, the police is eyeing her father, you know, because the father got a shotgun. And he's saying that, do you have a permit for that? He said that, I ain't putting down my damn shotgun. Shoot, you know, if anything, if it wasn't for my daughter, I would have shot the fool that came up in here. And she describes the suspect and what he was wearing, and that he was one of us. He was a black guy. And then he came in there with a bat, you know, banging on the tables and stuff. And Inez is one of the workers there. She lives across the street, but she's also one of Rondell's closest friends. You know, she's there, you know, trying to assist with the investigation. And as I mentioned, Rondell stopped her father from shooting the guy. And then the cop gonna ask, do you have a permit for your gun? She says, first of all, stop trying to spin this shit. First of all, you don't need a permit for a gun in Georgia. So, if anything, are you gonna do anything to catch the suspect who came in here and harassed us? And then on top of it, she's like, why would he not have a gun? This is a dangerous neighborhood. And he pretty much saying that, you know, and then she also told him that if anything, you should have had more patrols out. Maybe you would have caught the guy. And then she says, did he say anything to you? And she says, yeah. He said, you know what time it is, bitch. So he says, like, look, we'll write a report and, you know, keep your doors locked during non-business hours. And she was like, man, y'all sorry. And then Inez was like, you are a member of the mayor's family. You know, you should reach out to your brother to get him to do something about this. And Rondell was like, look, I ain't trying to bother him with this. You know. And then she's saying that, look, maybe we should get out of here. Maybe you should just sell and, you know, we can move out move out into, like, you know, the nice neighborhood. I can be close to Bella. So come to find out, Inez is Bella's mother. Bella is the fashion designer and stylist for Stephanie, and we also saw in the last episode she's having an affair with Evan. But more about that situation gets revealed in this episode, so stick with me. So, but the thing is, Rondell is dead set that I'm not selling shit. I'm staying in my neighborhood and I'm gonna fight this. And pretty much, you know, afterwards, you know, she tells Bella that, because Inez was, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say Bella. Well, Rondell and Inez go back and forth, and Inez was like, do you need me to come in early? She says, no, just come in at your regular shift. Everything's cool. So Inez leaves, and then the father, senior, was like, you know, do you sure you want to do this? Because Peters ain't playing no games. And Rondell was like, neither am I. You know, like, I'm not going to let this fool take my mother's restaurant over my dead body. So Thelma's restaurant was named after Evan and Rondell's mother. It was her restaurant, and she's trying to keep that family legacy. You know, keep that, you know, entrepreneurial family tradition. Get it? So then we see that Bella and Evan are still in bed. Damn, Bella decides to take her phone and snap some pictures, you know, of her and Evan in bed together. You know, embezzlement, blackmail, scandal. She up in there snapping pictures because he's dead asleep. she done put his butt to sleep, put it on him. They was getting it in the shower, on the last episode. She taking pictures while he sleep. She moves the covers back because he's butt naked and taking pictures of that. And then all of a sudden, he wakes up and he was like, I was dreaming about me and you in the Caribbean. And, we're, away from all the press, the paparazzi, all that. It's just me and you enjoying each other. And then next, they start getting it in again and start having sex. And while they're having sex, we see that she done set up the phone and she's actually recording them having sex. Now, for those who are watching this, watch my thoughts and commentary episode, video about, that video leak about those two guys having oral sex up in the church. As I was saying about, taping yourself while having sex, that could literally destroy someone's reputation, and it can lead to a lot of scandal and hurt. So definitely check that out. But yeah, she taped them having sex, and I'm like, oh, this bitch Bella is one scandalous heifer. So I'm gonna keep going. Then we get a scene with Amara and Titus. She's working on the case. She's watching this councilman named Kent Hamilton, and he ends up playing a role in this episode as well. Well, he's doing an interview where he's bashing, Mayor Evan Lancaster. And remember, Amara decided to take the case against the mayor's office, really because she really wants to shut down Stephanie and try to prevent Stephanie and Titus from getting close together. So she sees Stephanie as a threat, so she's going to go after Stephanie and her family with this case. So she's doing some research and everything. And then we see that Titus comes in, got the shirt off and everything, looking fine as hell. And pretty much tells Stephanie that, he's sorry. He should have told her that he was with Stephanie earlier. And she's pretty much wondering, like, you still have feelings for her? And he was like, look, she's opposing counsel. We had to meet to discuss, what we're going to do in regards to the case. And it's just messed up that my first case at Purifoy is going to be working with Stephanie. But then, Amara was like, well, the thing is, it shouldn't even be about her. This is our new start, I wanted to help us get our marriage on track. And she was wondering, is that what because that's the reason why we're here. You said you wanted a fresh start and you wanted to save our marriage. Now, is that true or is that lip service? And he was like, lip service? I'll show you lip service. Next thing you know, he down there eating her box and they getting it in with each other. So I was like, wow, there's a lot of sex on this show and I'm so here for it. Then we see later Bella and Evan are having a conversation, because after they done rolled around in the, in the shower in the bed, he now rolling out. And she's like, you always running out on me. Like, look, I'm turning 30. You said we're going to be getting married, but now you're running for governor. I'm like, boo-boo, isn't that like a sign, like, you a side bitch? You going to be that. That's the role you playing. That's the role you're going to stay at. Like, he's married to a prominent family. He's not going to divorce his wife to be with you, but obviously Bella is in the land of illusions, obviously. And then he said, and you also promised that you was going to help me to turn Bella's fashion into an empire. And he says, well, what about the people I introduced you to? She says, no, those are local people. I need a national distributor, someone to back me, so that I can get my stuff in boutiques and all of that, and fashion stores. And then he was like, the funny thing about it, you keep telling me to leave my wife, but you still running around with that, has-been of a football player. And then she says, he's beneath you. And he says, and the thought of him at times makes me not even want to touch you. I'm like, Evan, you got some damn nerve. One thing I can say about Evan is one cocky son of a bitch. He really is. He is very cocky, very arrogant, and very, shrewd of how he moves. And he's very shady as well. And he, and she says that, look, I'll stop seeing him when you leave your wife. And he says, and until you do leave your wife, I'll mess with whoever I want to. And he says, but not in this loft that I'm paying for. So I was like, ooh. So he financially supporting her and everything, all under Stephanie's nose. And I'm like, yo, this is going to be some shit when this thing gets out in the open. So then we see that Stephanie goes over to her family's house and she goes to see her mom, Irene. You know, her mom is up late watching old movies, and she can definitely tell that Stephanie is bothered. And she was saying that you looked great tonight, you know, the first lady of Atlanta. Yeah, you looked beautiful, but I noticed that you weren't smiling, and at least the smiles you were showing weren't real. So she knows her daughter. And, you know, Stephanie opens up and says that, you know, Samantha and Adrian are off living their own lives, and I'm the last Carlisle standing here, the only one who gave a damn about this family firm. Why is Dad punishing me? Because she's looking at a picture of the dad's photo that's hanging on the wall, and Samantha and Adrian are her brother and sister. They're off living their own lives, and she's the only one that decided to stay and continue the family legacy. But the father won't give her the shot to run the firm. And then pretty much the mother says that, look, there's a lot of things I love about your father, but his insatiable appetite is something I can't stand. You know, his plate was always full, but he always wanted more clients, more money, more power. And it used to send me in circles, and I didn't smile much in those days either. But one thing that changed was that I decided to focus less on Stefan and more on myself. And we see that after that, the mother kisses her goodnight and she goes off. And then we see that Stephanie texts someone. We come to find out she's texting Titus on the late night. And Amara clocks it because she's up. She done put Titus to sleep because she done put it on Titus' ass. She noticed that she heard the vibrate. She thought it was her phone, but then she listened to see it was Titus' phone that was lit up. She pretty much takes the phone, takes Titus' finger, you know, to unlock the phone, and she begins to text as Titus. And I'm like, oh, that Amara is one shady bitch. I'm like, wow. Like, the shenanigans that they pull are crazy. So then we see that Evan and Stephanie are having breakfast. They're pretty much playing, just playing logistics as usual. She's supposed to be making an appearance at a preschool because he's running for governor, playing nice for the public and all of that. And then she talks about, Councilman Hamilton is still, talking, mess about you because she obviously saw it when she was at her parents' house. And she's like, he's going in on you and you need to check him. And he's like, oh, I will. Trust me. And then she was like, oh, yeah. And then before he left out, she was like, Evan, you've been having a lot of late nights lately, And then he was like, oh, you talking about on Saturday? The night that you put a gun to my head? And she just looks at him and was like, don't disrespect me. I'm like, bitch, he's far beyond disrespecting you. he got a whole lot going on, over your head. And you have no idea. But when you do, bitch, it's going to be a gag. So then we see that Amara Hughes goes to visit Councilman Hamilton. He's the one that was on TV bashing the mayor. And so she pretty much says that the reason why you're going after the mayor is that he's not giving aid to the local bank community, and but yet he's been helping the rich get richer. I'm like, yeah, that's not surprising due to the fact that he's married into a white collar family. But then she was like, so are you trying to are you here representing the mayor? Is that the reason why you're here? She's like, no, I work for the U.S. citizens, not the local mayor. But she says, I want to know, is these accusations you're making about him, can you actually back them up with facts? Or is this just like a political game that you're playing because you want to take him down because you want his seat? But then he was like, "Oh, I see what it is. You know, you in here and you want me to do the work for you." And you can just tell that Kent is a very shady person too. And Kent's a good-looking guy also, but you can definitely tell Kent got some shit with him as well. And we definitely see it more later. But she pretty much says that, "Look, I'm gonna go." But then he says that but before you go, if you really want dirt on Lancaster, won't you go talk to his mistress? I'm like, oh shit. So it seemed to me that Evan knows about the other women. Well, the other woman. But then again, from what we see, there's probably more, there's definitely more than one. Bella ain't the only one. So then we get a scene with Bella and Inez. You know, Inez is the woman that works with Rondell at Thelma's restaurant, and she's also Bella's mother. And then we find out that Bella is a single mom. She has a little boy named Joaquin, and he's just adorable. And, you know, Inez has been helping to take care of him while Bella has been working on, you know, building her career. And, you know, Inez tells her what happened at Thelma's place or whatever. We come to find out that Bella is from that neighborhood. And like, you know, Bella's like, "Well, look, y'all need to sell and get the hell up out of there, you know, for the both of your safety." And she's like, "Look, you know, we all just can't abandon the community like you did. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, it's our home. And besides, you worried about me getting up out of the neighborhood. You need to be getting away from you know who." So we come to find out Inez knows that her daughter is having an affair with Mayor Evan Lancaster. And I'm like, damn, everybody got damn secrets and, you know, playing hands and got wild cards. And she pretty much, and Inez was giving her the deal like, "Look, he doesn't love you, honey. Like, he will use you up and dispose you like the other trinkets he's had in the past. I grew up around this guy. I knew him since he was a boy. He's very selfish. He's very he's very self-absorbed, and he will dispose of you. And, you know, and if anything, you're just a shiny toy to this man, just something that he can play with." And she's like, "That's not true, Mom. Evan loves me, and I'll prove it. You'll see." I'm like, yeah, she gonna be using all that shit to blackmail his ass. That she gonna expose the fact that he's cheating on his wife, and that would bring him down because they're all about image. You know, the Carlyles as well as him. So then, let's see. So then we see that Inez was right, because there's the secretary that works at Evan's office named Daphne. Him and Daphne screw on a regular. So she off his pussy. But she think that he loves her though. But we're going to find out why Bella believes all of this. And, you know, while he's, you know, about to, you know, have a round with Stephanie up in the office, he gets a call from his father about something going down with Thelma's restaurant, and he tells Daphne, "Rain check," and runs out. Then we see that he goes to meet up with Rondell and his father, and he asks Rondell, "Are you okay?" And he was like, she's like, "Boy, I'm fine. Just nothing but Peter's old little thugs up here trying to scare me." And he said, "Oh, it wasn't Peter's." And she was like, "How you know that?" And he said, "Because you two are still breathing right now." He's like, "Oh, that's what," and the father stepped in. He's like, "Oh, so that's what you got to say about somebody who came in here and threatened your family?" He's like, "You know how I feel about my family, Dad. Why would you even go there?" And he's like, "Look, I got people searching the neighborhood, you know, to find who did this to you guys." And then Rondell was like, "Shoot, ain't nobody gonna say shit in the banks. You already know the rule. Snitches get stitches." And then the father's like, I'm amused that y'all find this funny." He's like, "Oh, no, we don't." And she's like, "Yeah." And, you know, so pretty much he you know, so Evan was like, "So you mean to tell me he came in and was saying, you know what time it is?" He's like, she was like, "Yeah." He said, "You know what time it is, bitch. Don't forget the bitch part." And he was like, "And he came in here and broke one of my damn tables." And she's like, oh, I'm going to go make sure that this never happens again. So Evan is on the lookout to find out what's going on. Then we get the scene, the woman-to-woman scene, where Stephanie is there with a cocktail waiting on Titus to show up because she thinks she got a little date with Titus. And she actually talks to the waiter, and she's like, he's like, are you ready to order? And she's like, oh no, I'm waiting someone. She says, well, won't you describe him to me, and won't you describe this person to me, and I can make sure that they come to your table. And she's like, oh yes, he's very handsome, very sophisticated, and very prestige. And he's a good friend. I'm pretty sure you won't have any trouble finding out who that is. And then all of a sudden you hear somebody in the background, I wouldn't describe us as friends. She turns around, it's Omara's ass. So Omara acted as Titus and completely just cracked Stephanie's face and shit. And then all of a sudden, Stephanie's like, so tell me, is this about Titus? And Omara's like, no, it ain't about Titus, it's about respect. You text my husband in the middle of the night. And she's like, honey, don't you think we're a little too old now to be fighting over a man? And she's like, ain't no need to fight, honey. Titus is mine. And then Stephanie's like, oh, you're gonna make this another Brandy and Monica song? I was like, oh shit. Like a woman to woman. Can I speak to Barbara? They literally had that shit. That shit literally played out in this scene. And then she says that, look, the reason why I text him was to discuss the case with the Purifoys, because we both are counsel and we're going against each other. And then she pretty much says, well, if that's the case, Stephanie, then you text him during normal business hours. Don't let it happen again. And then she was about to walk away. She was like, Amara, now that you here, let's clear the air, honey. And she's like, okay. And then Amara was like, okay, fine. Say what you have to say. Or am I being too direct? Because you never like anybody being upfront and direct with your ass. And she's like, yeah, and I definitely don't like, how you move, like creeping behind my back. That's how you got Titus. And she says, honey, I simply value someone you discarded. Yeah. She says, no, what you did is that you stole something I valued. And she was like, well, now you want to talk about stealing. What about this whole situation with your husband, Mayor Evan Lancaster? And they're like, so then she's like, so tell me, are you asking me as a federal prosecutor? She's like, more like the ex-best friend and former sorority sister, someone who knows you better than yourself. Oh, that damn Stephanie got all in her feelings and was like, you may have studied my moves when we were in college because you so desperately wanted to be me, but make no mistake, bitch, you never knew me. And she's like, child, I'm not worried about that. That shit was 20 years ago. But again, why don't you comment on the statements about what's being made about your husband, Mayor Lancaster? And she's like, oh, you mean that damn weak-ass councilman, Kent Hamilton? The guy's a fucking idiot. And if any damn thing, there's no leverage to anything he's saying. And she's like, and then Amara was like, well, I gotta go to work. And she was like, yeah, I understand. Civil service jobs are hard to find. I'm like, that Stephanie is such an evil bitch. She just don't fucking care. And then she pretty much looked at her and before Amara left, and Amara was like, don't underestimate me, Stephanie. And then all of a sudden, Stephanie took her drink, was like, never again. I'm like, yeah, bitch, she pulled one on your ass, Stephanie, and she got you good. So then we see that Bella is trying to have this little fashion shoot, and she's trying to film, and the cop is not letting her do it because she doesn't have a city permit to do it. So the cop is giving her a hard time, and she's saying that, look, why don't you just look the other way? We can be done in like about 10 minutes. I can, and like, hey, I can make you worth your while. I can design your wife a designer gown. And he was like, I don't have a wife. What else can you do? And I'm like, oh, damn. He already done smelt the hoe off of Bella, because Bella definitely has whorish tendencies, obviously. And she showed it in this scene, because next thing you know, she calls Evan to get Evan to come here to come to the park to help her with that situation so she can do her shoot. And he was like, why don't you just reschedule it? She's like, I can't. I have a large distributor that's in town, and I want to show him some of my latest fashions. She's like, yeah, I'm doing well selling online, but with a large distributor, I can actually have my stuff in stores and boutiques and all of that. And he's like, look, I'm sorry, but it's going to have to wait, baby. I got a situation that I need to handle. So I'm sorry, baby. I can't do it. What she ends up doing is she ends up calling Broderick. Broderick comes. Broderick is, he used to play for the Atlanta Falcons. He's a former football player. He goes down there. He, talks to, he ends up, talking because the reason why Evan couldn't go there, because he's on his way to find out what went down between Rondell and who was the person that went in there to harass them. So he's taking care of that, and that's the reason why he didn't come to Bella when she wanted him. But she worked on plan B and got Roderick down there. Roderick talked to the cop, pretty much gave him free, Atlanta Hawks tickets, got her 45 minutes. So Broderick saved the day, and the next thing you know, they all hugging and happy and shit. And then after Evan does what he does, he shows up, and Evan is all in his damn feelings and shit. He's like, "Oh, I've been looking all over for you." In actuality, he was talking about Bella, but then he plays it and acts like he was talking about Broderick. Like, yeah, I was actually working on some developments down, but then how could I miss that when, Roderick is here? And then he pretty much says that, so what brings you around? He says that because every time I see you, you guys are always attached to the hip. I'm like, he is so fucking shady and so malicious. It's crazy. That damn Evan Lancaster was a piece of work. And Roderick says that, well, I was here because Bella called me about a situation involving her shoot, but I took care of it. Everything's good. And he was like, oh, that's interesting, because I also wanted to talk to you because we're having like a welcome to Atlanta, public relations campaign, and we want some of the local celebrities to be the face of it. And he was like, oh wow, I'll be perfect for that. I'm with it. Bella's with it too, aren't you, baby? And he was like, well, the thing is, Bella's not really she's not really a big celebrity. I mean, definitely not at your level. And I'm like, oh, he was throwing shade at her ass because he mad that she called Roderick, and Roderick came in there and did what she wanted versus him being the man to save the day. So he's obviously jealous and in his feelings, and now he coming for Bella saying that, oh please, she's just a local celebrity. I mean, she's not a major celebrity, and she's definitely not on your level. But yet earlier you were saying that he was beneath her though. So I'm like, oh, Evan is an asshole. And he was like, but she has a big online following. I mean, he was like, but she has a big online following. If it was me putting together, he's like, yeah, but you're not. So can we count on you to be the face of this campaign? He's like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, okay, enjoy your shoot. And walked off. I'm like, I know your ass ain't in your feelings. Like, Evan is a real selfish bastard. It's like everything that Inez said about him is true, but Bella is just, she's head over heels for him. And we also find out there's even more of a reason why they're attached to each other. So then we see that what ends up happening also in this on this episode, Inez and Rondell have a conversation. Well, the thing is, Rondell is trying to do a video, pretty much trying to, lead a coalition to stop, these developers, from taking over the streets, corporate gentrification. Greg Peters and all of that. So she's doing a video, and we see that while she's doing the video, Inez drops it, but I think Inez dropped it on purpose because she's in fear that there's going to be more retaliation because Rondell is not stepping down. Inez thinks that they should just sell off everything and get the hell out of there, but Rondell wants to stay, and one of the reasons is because that's her mother's restaurant, and she wants to keep her mother's legacy alive, and it's also a pillar in the community. Everybody goes to eat there. So while she's filming her, she drops it, and because she dropped it, she lost the recording. So they're scrappling, and then we see that Kent Hamilton comes in, and immediately, Rondell remembers him. She didn't know his name, but she knew who he was. Like, yeah, you the one on TV be talking shit about my brother. And she was like, yeah, and it just so happens your brother is like the second coming of Marion Barry. And she was like, what you say? And then he says that, look, I heard about what happened to you the other night. It's unfortunate. And he said that I would have reached out to you sooner, but there was another situation in the community that required my attention. But I'm here to help. And she's like, so what you gonna do, hater? What you here for? And then she was like, and then he explained to her that, look, Thelma's Place is an institution of our community, And she's like, and he's saying, but I really do want to do all I can to help you to save your business. And she was like, well, will you be willing to turn the shade off of my brother some? And he was like, well, I'll be willing to turn it off, but you got to give me something in return. And I'm like, see, that damn Kent is shady as hell. But what they end up doing is that, she makes him some food, which is her mother's recipes. And he's kind of like, and I see that Kent is literally flirting with Rondell, and he was saying that, you should actually create your own cookbook and everything, because, the mother never gave her, a book of the recipes or whatever. But she's like, well, it seemed to me you need to start your own cookbook. And she's like, look, I'm just trying to hold everything down so we don't lose this place and I don't lose my livelihood. But then he said that, I actually grew up in the 4th Ward, and they literally tore down that neighborhood, and they built condominiums, and it's the same thing that's about to happen to your neighborhood. And pretty much he says that, look, I'm not from the banks, but I want to make a difference, in the community, and I'm willing to work with you. And it's so obvious that he's flirting with her. And she says that, look, if you weren't talking so much smack about my brother, me and you could be friends. And he was like, I think we could be more than friends. And then you got Inez in the back kind of laughing. It's like, I'm like, cause she seen the fact that y'all flirting with each other, and she's like, Inez, shut up. And I just thought that was really funny. It was a really cute scene. So we saw that go down. So then we see the reason why Evan didn't go to the park to help Bella. He goes over to see Mr. and Mrs. Carlisle. Irene and Stefan. They're talking. Before Evan comes in there, Irene and Stefan and Stephen are talking, and they're talking about the Purifoy case and everything. And Irene talks up Stephanie, saying that I hope you're noticing your daughter's hard work. She really works hard for you and all of that. And he was like, yeah, but the thing is, Stephanie has her own reasons as to why she's going after the Purifoys, and she wants to replace me. And Irene is like, is that a terrible thing? It's her time, and you've earned your retirement. Next you know, Evan comes in there and charges at them, and he was saying that, yeah, you better stay the hell away from my family. You understand me? He's like, who the hell you think you talking to? He's like, first of all, you forget I used to work for the Perkins and Carlisle firm. I know how y'all get down and how y'all use thugs and stuff to go after people. But I draw the line when it comes to my family. You know, and he says, you mess with my family again, I promise you'll regret it. Stevens gets up and was like, listen, boy, you don't come in my damn house and disrespect me in front of my wife. And he's like, well, you listen, old man. You come after my family again and mess with my sister, see what happens. And then all of a sudden, Irene was like, Stevens didn't go over there to mess with your sister. I did. And I'm like, oh, shit. So we're seeing that, yeah, Mama Lancaster can be just as vicious and cruel as her damn husband. And she was like, yeah, I was just only sent them there to scare them. They weren't going to hurt them. And he's like, you actually sent them? You actually sent some thugs over there to my sister? And she says, would you rather it be Evan Peters' hitmen? And then all of a sudden, Steve was like, huh, she got you there. Cat got your tongue, bruh. And then pretty much he was like, so you mean to tell me that the Carlisle family actually hires thugs to do their bidding? And Stephen was like, yeah, and it better not leave this room either. But then he said that, look, I may be married to your daughter, but my father and Rondell are my blood. Don't forget that. And then all of a sudden you see Stevens like, well, damn, sweetheart, I didn't know you had it in you. And she's like, when you've been married for over 45 years to Stephen Carlisle, you pick up a few things and you learn a few tricks. I'm like, oh, both of her parents are crazy. That explains why Stephanie is so ambitious and she's so shrewd with it. So then we get a scene with Stephanie and her private investigator named Nick. And pretty much she's like, anything for me? And he's like, that's a loaded question. And she's like, I mean the assignment. So I'm thinking Stephanie and Nick done fucked in the past. And she was like, well, Titus is clean. And she was like, well, what about Amara? And she's like, oh, Amara's a dirty little girl. You know, she had an affair with her co-worker, Damian Collins. And out of it, she got a raise and a promotion. And in the process, together, the two of them prosecuted one of the biggest meth dealers in Birmingham. But then he's like, but I have a question. Why are you so interested in their marriage? She's like, boo-boo, I pay you to answer questions, not ask them. So he ends up leaving, and he leaves the file with her. And she's going through it. She's like, Amara Hughes, you hypocritical, lying little slut. I'm like, oh, fuck. What the hell is she about to do? That damn Stephanie is a messy bitch. So then... oh, yeah, I already talked about that. So then we see later on that Amira and Titus are at home. He's cooking dinner for her. And, you know, we can definitely tell, yeah, Amira put it on him all night. Because now the motherfucker making food. You know, he now being the chef and everything. And he says that, you know, it's a good thing that now I'm a part of corporate counsel versus working a one-man firm. And I know building my practice did put a strain on our marriage. And then she says, well, then he asks her how was her day. She tells him that she had lunch with Stephanie. And she pretty much said what she had to say. And she kept it moving. And he says that, look, you know, she's not going to be an issue for us. Our marriage is my first priority. You know, I want us, and she's like, yes, I want us to have a bright future ahead. And then they talk about their daughter being away at school and how much she misses her. And next, you know, he was saying that I got a huge space in my heart where our daughter is, and I miss her. And he was like, well, I'm here to fill that heart, and we're going to be okay. So he puts her on the counter, and they start getting it in. So then we see that Rondell holds a community meeting at Thelma's restaurant. All the local business people are there, and also residents of the neighborhood. You know, she's trying to, you know, stop Peters, you know, from taking over the neighborhood. One of the guys named Charlie was like, Peter's just upped the original offer he was going to give me for my business, and I'm thinking about selling and going back to Snellville. She's like, we ain't here about no motherfuckers taking no buyouts. We're about saving the banks. And we came up with an organization, NAG. And then before she's about to say the abbreviation, damn Kent came in and said what the abbreviation is. NAG means Neighbors Against Gentrification, because this is exactly what Peters is doing. And that's the reason why Irene is doing, because they're working with, because the Carlisle family is working with Peters as to why they sent those goons over there to scare them, because they're saying that, look, this English Rose thing could make us all a lot of money, so we need to get your sister out the damn way and get her to sell. But Rondell is very ambitious, and she's strong, and she's determined, and she's not giving up, because she's gonna fight for this, because this is in memory of her mother, and obviously she was very close with her mom. So we see the damn Kent's up in there. He's up in there, trying to talk to the people, and the damn crowd was doing the most. Like, well, what about my potholes, and what about the dope fiends that be out in the street, and what about, and like, yeah, and then like, first the father was like, what the heck you doing up in here, like, because he knows, seeing him on TV talking about his son, so of course he feels some kind of way. But then he says that, look, I'm here to say that, look, we want to stop these developers from ripping up our communities, and we're trying to save the neighborhood. And then Big Charlie gets up and was like, yo, so Rondell, you really gonna be trying to work with this dude that be talking crap about your brother on TV? And she's like, first of all, I'm a grown woman and my brother does not control me. And then her father was like, yeah, sit your big ass down, sit your greedy big ass down and stop talking shit. I was rolling. I'm like, the father don't play. Senior Lancaster does not play at all. So I love their dad, because he just said that, man, if you don't sit your greedy behind down and be quiet, because he just doing the most, and he the main one talking about he trying to sell out to Peters so he can move. But then she says that, look, we need to come together so we can get signatures to stop this injunction and stop them from doing this. And then they start quoting NAG, NAG, NAG. And then Kent, whispers to Rondell's like, well, it seems to me that you just became a local activist. So I'm like, he's still making the moves. Then we see that Bella comes home with little Joaquin, and then Evan is already in the damn house, and he's like, the little boy's like, Mr. Evan, hi! And he runs over to him, and he gives him an iPad and says, won't you go take it up to your room and play with it, and I'm gonna talk to your mom. He's like, okay, Mr. Evan. And then all of a sudden she's like, what the hell are you doing here, Evan? He's like, a father can't stop by to see his son. I was like, holy shit! What? You mean to tell me that's your kid and you have him calling you Mr. Evan? Oh, you shady motherfucker! Oh my god! And Stephanie has no idea he has a child outside of their marriage. I'm like, wow. And Bella is all in the middle of this shit, and Bella got a whole bunch of cards. I'm like, oh shit. This motherfucker is the father of her son. I don't even think Inez even knows that he's the dad. So I'm like, this is gonna be some crazy shit. I am so here for Ambitions, y'all. This shit was lit. But that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I'll be back with the next episode of Ambitions. I am loving this show. So until next time, everybody, take care.